So, what part is this? Part 6, I think. Um, there's quite a lot of titles to go through here. I hope I have time to do this in one video. This is documentary, a bunch of documentaries, all kinds of genres, but all of them are documentaries. I'm gonna start with something that I talked about like a year ago. This is actually, well, maybe not that long, but towards the end of 2017, I think, is when I bought this. Someone might remember the Louie Mel documentary collection, with, I believe, all of his documentaries, or most of them anyway, released by Curzon Artificial Eye. It just took me a while to get through this. Not that I didn't enjoy it. I don't know. I wasn't always in the mood to check out another documentary, and um, some of them are better better than others too. So I would say, well, Louie Mel, first of all, he's a French director. He's done a bunch of films, dramas or live action films too. But he did quite a few documentaries here, as you can see, and I've seen maybe one or two of his other films. He did that movie, for example, My Dinner with Andre. He directed that, which is not. I mean, he made films in France before that too. Probably films that are just as deserving of your time as that one, or more perhaps. But I haven't seen too many of them. But now I at least know his documentary work, and Phantom India, as well as Calcutta, which I think he must have shot that intending for it to be a part of this, because it was during the same trip. It's basically a long documentary series with several episodes. This one is, and then in Calcutta, I guess he had enough material to make an entire film, so it's like 90 minutes long. This one, I don't know how many hours, but it's quite a few. Actually, it says down here, Phantom in 350 minutes. So, yeah, this is just him traveling to India, exploring the culture, the caste system, just the sights, whatever he came across, he filmed, and it's a really wonderful series, I guess, or I'm gonna call it a film. This is definitely the best. I mean, this is worth getting just for that, and then if you don't absolutely love the other ones, I mean, at least this is absolutely phenomenal. This is something I'm gonna return to again in the future, at least once or twice. This one, I'm not gonna try to pronounce it. It's about Tour de France. Really short, just like 15 minutes or something like that, and 18 actually. It's just a very short documentary about the bikers. I like the way it's filmed. Completely different from this, obviously. Then, God's Country was the second best after this, I would have to say. This is just about using a Citroën car production plant. This documentary takes an unusual and intriguing approach to the subject of human existence. I didn't get any of that. He just filmed the production of cars. That's all I saw, and I couldn't get through it. I just couldn't. This was the worst one for me. I don't know. Watching the production of cars, I'm not sure if I missed something, but to me it was just not that interesting. This one was quite fun. This is just him. Okay, I'm confused. Is this... Here it says, this one, a documentary with almost no words following the production of Citroën cars at a plant in northern France and their later sales. That's not what this is about at all. Did they accidentally write the same synopsis for both of those films, but a different version? Because this is that. Both of these should belong to that. That's really weird. I haven't noticed that before, strangely enough. This is just him filming on a street. Like, he just took his camera crew, filmed for a couple of weeks, maybe more than that, on a street, and he just filmed what he encountered. He talked to people basically just on a street. That's what this is. So I think I guess they made a mistake. That's really weird. Okay, I'm gonna have to look that up. This one is about trials and tribulations of immigrants living in the United States during the 1980s. I thought this could have been better. He just he uses so many subjects. He interviews so many people that I just felt like he should have chosen like half of them, or maybe even less, and just examined that situation more in depth, because it was just went by so quickly. There were really interesting situations which he just moved away from too quickly. So either he should have made that a really long documentary, or he should have focused on fewer people. At least that's my opinion. So overall, it's a really good set. If you like documentaries, which I obviously do, it's basically, well, I don't know if it's my favorite type of film, but it's sometimes I feel like it is. There's just something about the real world. I'll say that this has nothing to do with this set in particular. Maybe I could have said this in the beginning of the video. It just touches on the documentary genre more. Well, let me just start by saying that I once heard someone reply to the question, why do you like film, by saying, because it's so much more interesting than real life. And I really don't agree with that. You can't really capture real life. I mean, even the films that does it best, which manages to capture the mundaneness, what's the word, mundane? Well, the mundane reality of life, the odd interconnections, the odd butterfly effects that some things may have. It's just so complex that it's so difficult to capture in a film. And obviously I love all kinds of films, but with documentaries, well, the real world is definitely very interesting. It's stranger than fiction, as they say, and I kind of feel that that's true. There are some things you can't really, well, you could make them up, but when you film them, if you've written a script, you can, well, it's just not the same. I mean, when it's actually happening for real, and you know that this is real, what you're watching, it takes on a different aspect that I don't know. It's our world. It's not fake. I don't know. I don't agree with that state. I'm not gonna call anyone out for saying it. I don't really remember who it was, but I just want to mention that I don't agree with that. I find real life to be very fascinating. All right. I'm gonna talk about a few a few second run releases. I really do like this company. They put out. I love the design of them. First of all, you'll see the design of these are similar. These are by Mark Isaacs. They've released a couple more of his, a couple more DVDs with his films, but they're apparently releasing a box set with everything on Blu-ray. I don't know if you need to watch his films on Blu-ray. I don't think you do, but to have it all on one set sounds really cool. So I'm gonna get that, so I don't really need to hold on to this, I guess, but I mean I will until I get that set. But for now, I've seen Lift, Travelers and Calais, The Last Border. So this is a UK-based filmmaker. He first worked as an assistant, apparently, to filmmaker Pavel Pavlovsky. I recently saw his film Ida. But after that he went on to, in 2001 he made Lift, which is just, he basically, he films people. He found an elevator, a lift, somewhere in the UK in this apartment complex, and he just sat there in the elevator all day, every day for weeks on end, and he compiled the most interesting clips, really. But it turned out to be sort of unexpectedly profound. In a way that you wouldn't expect something like that to be. He just managed to connect with people. There was some kind of statement about everyone having a story, or the importance of connecting with people that really, I may not apply myself in real life, but I was really moved by it. Travelers is I suppose I don't have time to talk about each and every one. Travelers was interesting. Calais, The Last Border was also a really great film, but overall a really good set. I'm looking forward to seeing the rest of his films. Here we have. I'm basically picking up everything from second run if I can find them cheap, especially the documentaries. These are by Andrea Lucas Zimmerman. This is a pretty recent release. I found this. It has a big like gash here, but I meant I just I got a refund for it, so I got this for free. But it's still a little bit annoying. This it's a pretty new release, and I found it very cheap. This was released just last year, so I figured for a new release I got my money back. I switched out the case. You can't really tell, but there is a line across here which basically cuts the whole thing in half, which is a shame. But anyway, the two films, they were definitely definitely good, but I don't really have time to talk about them. They were not my favorite, but the Estate, a Reverie, I think I maybe preferred. This next one, Divorce, Iranian Style, and Runaway, two films by Kim Longinotto. I actually have another one of her films after this one, and I've bought a couple more. Oh no, I didn't buy them. I'm thinking of buying them. Okay, that's it. So she's done a bunch of films. She went to Iran and filmed these two, and she needed somebody to. I think this person was the translator, and she worked with her enough to warrant the title here, I guess. But the films are really by Kim Longinotto. Runaway was good, but Divorce, Iranian Style is about what you'd think. It's about the Iranian court system, where people are presenting their problems, their marriage problems, and usually it's the maybe all of the, yeah, I think maybe all of the in all of these cases that it brings up, it's the woman who wants to divorce from her husband, and you know, the court system, or the divorce court, where, you know, they present their errand to this judge apparently, but he felt more like a clerk, just writing stuff down. But apparently he's the judge, I guess. You know, things look very differently than what you may be used to if you live in the Western world. So that part was really interesting. Yeah, so these women, they go there with their husbands, dragging their husbands along a lot of the time, and it's difficult to get divorced if you're a woman, unless you have a really good reason, and sometimes they encounter difficulties. And I just loved studying this place, this court, and these people. This is from 1997. It is 2 decades ago. I don't know if it's the same now. But yeah, apparently if you don't have a good reason, then it's difficult to you know, to get a divorce granted or whatever if you're a woman. Overall, a really great film that I wasn't expecting to be as interesting as it was, but it really just flew by. Yeah, really good. So because I enjoyed those two as much as I did, I had this other one by her called Hold Me Tight, Let Me Go, which I've had for a while. So I watched this now, and it was, you know, it's about especially I don't want to say violent. I mean, they have a reason for why they behave the way they do. They may not have gotten the treat or the attention they deserve, as you know, from their parents, and so they're all at this school, which it seems like they sleep there too. Maybe they go home occasionally, but yeah, they need special attention, and it's about this school, or this place, and the kids, and about the teachers, and yeah, definitely, yeah, it was good. Alright, this one, The Pearl Button, I was actually gonna get this from Amazon, but then I found a really cheap. I didn't even know that this was released in Sweden. I'm not too surprised. I mean, Swedish, when it comes to documentaries and foreign film, there's a lot of really good releases that come out over here that don't always have releases in other countries. So I do like that. So I was able to find this one much cheaper on Ginza. It's hard to narrow it down to what it's about. It basically it's about South American, where the director is from Chile. So it's about the indigenous population, and you know, the mistreatment of them, among other things. It brings up a bunch of things, really. The Pearl Button is I don't think I remember exactly what it meant. Even if I did, it would be very difficult to bring up because there's so much to it. It's a metaphor to some extent, I guess, but it's a pretty long story to why it's called that. But yeah, if you know this director, what's his name? Patricio Guzman. He's apparently done some pretty good documentaries before this too. I am willing to watch more of them, but I didn't, this one was okay. So just sometimes a film just works and sometimes it doesn't. It's hard to say why. Sometimes you find yourself fascinated by a certain situation or a certain place, or maybe the person who is being interviewed, and sometimes you're just having a hard time really getting into it and getting everything out of it. So maybe I should watch it again. But I think I'll most likely end up checking out some of his other films before I rewatch it. This one, I forget, I think I watched, what's it called? Cuba and the Cameraman, is that what it is? It's a Netflix documentary by a guy named Ron Alpert, maybe, something like that, which is about Cuba, obviously, and so I really liked that documentary, and I want to see other documentaries that he's done. Apparently they're on HBO, and I've added them to my watch later list. I haven't seen them yet, but I really liked that one, and so I had this one, Comandante, by Oliver Stone, about Fidel Castro, so I watched this one right after, and I figured why not. Well, it's not. Wait. Oh, right. Okay. I was gonna say it's not just about him, but it is just about him. I was mixing it together with this one, which I bought after, South of the Border. I figured when I've seen this, I may as well try to keep educating myself about the politics of certain South American countries. This also by Oliver Stone. I love Dogwoof. They also, as with Second Run that I talked about before, Dogwoof is a really good company for documentaries. They don't really release a ton of stuff, but I do like what I have from them. So this one is about not just Fidel Castro, but Hugo Chavez as well, as you can see right there, and you can see the list here. Yeah, I mean, trying to learn more about our world. This is from a while ago. It's not the most up to date, but yeah, that was both of those were definitely good. There is, speaking of Cuba, I actually saw one Swedish documentary which I'll talk about in the next part, taking place partly in Cuba as well. So I feel like I've learned more about Cuba recently, which is always good to learn about something. But speaking of Cuba, there is one show on Netflix called, I don't remember, but it's about Cuba, a long show in several parts about the history of Cuba, which I would like to see. I just haven't found the time. If you've seen that, let me know if it's something I should prioritize. So this next one, he named me Malala. You probably know her, Malala Yousufzai. She was shot by the Taliban. Was it in Pakistan? I think so. But she was shot because she was speaking out. This was maybe 5 years ago. She's not that old. She's like maybe 20 now. I just saw her on David Letterman's Netflix show not too long ago. But yeah, she seems wise beyond her years, and then years. And then of course there's people. I don't know if I should get into that. I did read a comment which said that she's a puppet used by Western countries. Obviously, that's not something I'm gonna get into. I don't know why you couldn't get inspired by this story, even if there are more to it than you'd like to think. But that's always the case. There's a dark side to all kinds of things. I don't know everything about this, obviously, but this. Yeah, she was speaking out, advocating female rights or the education of girls, which is a problem, and so she was shot for that, but she survived and she lives in the UK now, and she has been living in the UK since then, and she has a very supportive father, which is why it's called what it's called. So yeah, I mean, I knew of her story before, She was on Skavlan as well, which is a Scandinavian talk show, a few years ago. Yeah, it's always good to watch a documentary about it, but I feel like I knew most of it before, but still. So what should we move on to now? I don't know. I guess this one. Spandex Sapiens. I guess this is a Finnish documentary. Yeah, I place these orders on Ginza, like I've talked about over the years. A lot of the time they have very cheap films that nobody else have, or at least not for that price. So when they have sales, I get a bunch of things that I've never heard of before that looks interesting, and yeah, I would have never seen this if it wasn't for that. But it's about wrestling. It's about these couple of wrestlers, Finnish wrestlers. This is a trans female, and he's definitely not. And so I guess there was a clash between the two, but it was sort of some of it was staged, some of it was dramatized, and I didn't really like that. I didn't really know ultimately what was going on. Like, I wanted to just watch a documentary, just a very basic doc. I don't know. I just feel like there were some question marks after that I would have liked to have answered. I mean, I don't know. You know, I'm not a fan of wrestling exactly. So I'm more, me watching something like this, it's more in the hopes that I'll be very, you know, interested in the people involved, that they're gonna be either eccentric or interesting, or maybe their life is interesting, or the documentary has documented it in a good way. And there are definitely some really good scenes in it, scenes that I really liked. One scene with his father, which was just really weird and fun, and some other stuff. But overall, it wasn't really my favorite, I suppose. I have two here, no, three actually, that's sort of about art/entertainment, I guess. Well, this one is Marina Abramovich, again, Dog Woof. The artist is present. She's a really weird performance artist. I don't really get her art. They talk about some stuff that she's done before. I knew of one of her pieces or performance pieces before, where she basically she had a table with a bunch of things on it, and she let the people know. She just sat there. She wasn't gonna do anything. She just sat behind the table, and there was there was a knife, I think, on the table. That there was basically, I think there was a gun even, and she let, with a note perhaps, I don't really know, she let the people who came to the exhibition know that you can do whatever you want to me. You can even shoot me with this gun, you know, whatever. I don't think that would have happened. But so it was an experiment in what people are gonna do if they're told that you can do whatever you want, basically. So that's one thing I knew about her. This piece, to me, I mean, I can't say I'm a fan of her work. I don't really understand her work. It seems very pretentious to me, I have to say, and that's not really a word that I like to use very much anymore. But this one is about her fairly late in her career, I guess. I think she's in her maybe early 60s at this point. Maybe, I think by now she's probably closer to 70, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe even in her 70s. I don't know. But the artist is present. This is basically what you saw when you went to the exhibition. This is what you saw, because this is what she did. There was a table, and then she was sitting on one side. There was a big line, or a white line, surrounding this table, and then one by one the people who came to this exhibition just went into the square, and then sat on the opposite end of her, and when somebody had sat down, she looked up, and then that's it. And then she did that like 8 hours a day for a few months, just sat there and just took her time with each fan, or each person who came to the exhibition, which somebody described as celebrity worship, which I can totally see. I'm not really gonna comment on the art itself, because I don't really know what to make of it, but it was an interesting documentary, an interesting study of how these people behaved who came to the exhibition. Some people were, I mean, it's interesting to see when some things go wrong, obviously, and it's interesting from her to hear her talk about the physical endurance, because just sitting there, she doesn't talk, just looks up, and then however long this person wants to sit here, if this person is greedy and wants to sit there for an hour, then they can. Then they go out, and then the next person comes in, and then she looks up again, and then they just sit there and look at each other. That's all. That sounds pretty pretentious to me anyway. I don't know. But maybe it doesn't have to be. I don't know. But my favorite part of it was to study the people who came to this exhibition, to see why they appreciated it. Maybe they got things out of it that I would not have. Actually, James Franco turned up. I'm not surprised at all. But yeah, he was one of the. He was a sort of celebrity guest, I guess. Anyway, so that's that. This next one, Nothing Like a Day, in the same genre to me because it's about entertainment, and I guess entertainment is art in some way. This is a conversation with these four royalties of British acting, or Eileen Atkins, Judi Dench, Joan Plowright, who I haven't seen in such a long time, but apparently she lost her sight, so she couldn't really act anymore, but she still has all her marbles, or whatever the expression is. But I've seen her in a few things before, and I really liked her. So it was fun. It was really good to see her in this, and then Maggie Smith. And I mean, they just sit down and talk about their careers, really, just discuss stuff. It was okay, but it's something that I really like watching. Just sort of comfort viewings, really. This one, Michael H., Profession Director, is about Michael Haneke, who I talked about in one of these parts. I don't know which one, but I forgot to include this one. I should have talked about this one while I talked about his films. But yeah, this is a documentary about him, but to me not a very good one, because I don't know if this really shot anything, if they filmed anything for this documentary specifically, but it just rather seemed like it compiled footage from interviews and behind the scenes from his past movies, that already existing footage that maybe you hadn't seen before, but still, and it went backwards in time. I think it starts with Amour, which was the most recent one when this one was filmed, or when this one came out. So it starts by some behind the scenes stuff of Amour, and then the one he did before that, and then it goes back in time. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting if you don't know too much about him, but I just feel like, I don't know, I just wanted more of a study of him, and not just a compilation of other stuff that has been filmed. Am I making sense? I wanted the documentary to be more original, I guess, because I mean, I don't think they filmed anything for this. I mean, if they went back in time, they would have had to plan it for a couple decades, and I don't think they did that. I don't know the story behind the film. Maybe I'm being too harsh on it, but it's all right, I guess. I mean, I do find him very interesting, so I always enjoy listening to him. But anyway, then I have two travel documentaries. Joanna Lumley, Trans-Siberian Adventure, and Nile. So I've talked about one of them before. The first one I saw was the first one she did, which was shorter than these. These are like 3 hours, 3 1-hour long episodes. The one that I had seen before was like half that, I think, and it was in the land of the Northern Lights or something like that. This Trans-Siberian Adventure, she goes on the Trans-Siberian Railway from somewhere in China or south of that, and then up through Siberia and into Russia. And then this is, she follows the Nile, so a pretty similar theme. She follows like a trail in a way. I prefer this one, actually. I expected to like this one more because I find the train just in itself very romantic. It's like this moving microcosm. It's like it's, you know, I mean, it has everything you need. You know, you can obviously, you can sleep, you can eat, you can go to the bathroom, you can whatever, but you can't leave. But at the same time, you're watching the world go by. And yeah, I always enjoy train scenes in films, and so I thought that this would be good. But most of it is out off the train. Like she stops at, you know, stops by to see certain things along the way, more than it being set on the train. Anyway, yeah, it's still good. But I did prefer this one, I guess. Yeah. And then I have a few Foo Fighters. I'm not really sure why. Well, I guess, I mean, I like the Foo Fighters, but I don't listen to them anymore. They're not a favorite band anymore. They used to be. But I did watch Sonic Highways. I got that for my birthday, which was a show that Dave Grohl directed about American music and the history of certain genres of music, and it was really good. And after that, I wanted to watch this, Sound City, which is another thing he directed, which is about this Sound City is a legendary recording studio. And I figured, because I really think Dave Grohl did a good job with Sonic Highways, so I wanted to see what this was. Both of them are definitely interesting, but if you're not a fan of Dave Grohl or the Foo Fighters, I mean, they do focus on them, the band members, and their music to some extent anyway, so but you can still get something out of them if you're interested in music. And then this I just bought because it was cheap, because I had bought those other ones. I just figured I'm just gonna get this one too. Back and Forth, I've seen this before and I remember liking it, but I don't really remember the story of the Foo Fighters. It's been a few years, so I forgot most of that. And I bought this too, just because why not? Everywhere But Home. And I was under the impression it sounded based on the name, it sounded like it was gonna be some kind of road film, and I don't really know why, but I had told myself before that that's what it was, but I guess I was mistaken, because it's not a road film or a road movie, but it's just live material from various places, and I wasn't really interested in seeing a live show of the Foo Fighters. I didn't really want to do that now after all these years. So yeah, I maybe I would have bought it anyway. I don't know. But I didn't pay too much for it, so even though it wasn't really what I was expecting, and even though I only really listened to a couple songs when I realized that, yeah, it's just live. Still, now I have most of the things by the Foo Fighters, and why not? So that's it for this one. Fairly long video about documentaries. I hope you enjoyed it. The next one will contain a bunch of documentaries too, but they're all Swedish, and then on top of that we have some Swedish films as well. So all Swedish films in the next part, and I'm gonna be pretty quick with some of them because I don't really want to go in depth into some of those titles. They're not the most interesting, or I don't know. I don't really think people are gonna necessarily go out of their way to find them. But anyway, if you're interested in that, then that's gonna be the next part and the last part. So but yes, thank you for watching this one, and leave any thoughts down in the comments.